I've been hunting these waters for over 30 years. But I'd never seen a seal behave like this one. My name is Dr. Sarah Chen, and I'm a marine biologist who spent the last 8 years living and working with the Inuit communities of Nunavut. At 34, I thought I'd seen every possible interaction between humans and Arctic wildlife. Until that December night, when a single ringed seal changed everything I believed about animal intelligence. It was December 21st, the winter solstice. The darkest day of the year in the high Arctic. The temperature had dropped to minus 42 degrees Celsius, and the wind was howling across the sea ice with a ferocity that made even the most experienced hunters stay indoors. But Aput, my Inuit mentor, and one of the most respected elders in our community, had insisted we check the breathing holes one more time before the storm hit. "Something's not right out there," he'd said, his weathered face creased with concern. "The seals, they're acting strange." The sea ice stretched endlessly before us, a moonlit expanse of white broken only by the dark patches of open water where seals came up to breathe. Our breath formed instant clouds in the frigid air, and the only sounds were the crunch of our boots on snow and the distant groaning of shifting ice. This is the Arctic at its most unforgiving. Beautiful, yes, but deadly to anyone who doesn't respect its power. We'd been out for about an hour when Aput suddenly stopped. He held up his hand for silence, tilting his head as if listening to something I couldn't hear. That's when I saw it. Farafrais, a dark shape moving beneath the ice, far too large and far too purposeful to be ordinary seal behavior. The animal surfaced at a breathing hole about 50 meters away. Even in the dim light, I could see this wasn't a typical ringed seal. It was larger, sleeker, and it was watching us. Not the quick, nervous glances of prey animals, but a steady, almost calculating gaze. "Tiktaalik," Aput whispered, using the Inuktitut word that means the one who sees far. What happened next challenged everything I thought I knew about marine mammal behavior. The seal dove, then resurfaced at another hole, closer to us. Then another and another, creating a distinct pattern. Almost like it was trying to lead us somewhere. Aput's radio crackled to life. It was base camp, and the news wasn't good. Dr. Martinez and his team of 3 researchers had failed to return from their ice core sampling expedition. They'd been missing for 6 hours, and with the storm intensifying, search and rescue operations would have to wait until morning. 6 hours in this cold, I muttered, calculating their chances. They won't survive until dawn. That's when the seal did something extraordinary. It began what I can only describe as a performance. Diving and surfacing in rapid succession, its movements becoming more agitated, more insistent, and always moving in the same direction. "It wants us to follow," Aput said simply. I know how that sounds. Marine biologists aren't supposed to anthropomorphize animal behavior. We're trained to look for rational, evolutionary explanations for everything we observe. But standing there on that ice, watching this seal's increasingly frantic display, I couldn't deny what seemed obvious. This animal was trying to communicate with us. We followed the seal for over an hour, trudging through snow that sometimes came up to our knees. The animal would surface, check that we were still following, then continue leading us across the ice. My scientific training screamed that this was coincidence, that we were seeing patterns where none existed. But Aput seemed unsurprised. "My grandfather told stories about seals like this," he said as we walked. "Animals that bridge the world between land and sea. They see things we cannot." The seal led us to a section of ice about 3 kilometers from where we'd started. At first, I saw nothing unusual. Just more white expanse under the star-filled sky. Then I heard it, a faint tapping sound, rhythmic and desperate. Dr. Martinez and his team had fallen through thin ice near a thermal vent they'd been studying. They'd managed to pull themselves onto a small ice shelf, but they were trapped in a depression surrounded by unstable ice and open water. Without our seal guide, we never would have found them in time. The rescue took another 2 hours. We used ropes and ice axes to create a safe path to the stranded researchers, working by headlamp, while the wind tried to steal the warmth from our bodies. All 4 men were hypothermic but alive. They would recover fully, but here's what still gives me chills. As we were helping the last researcher to safety, I looked back toward the water. The seal was there, floating motionless in the dark water, watching. When our eyes met, I swear it nodded before disappearing beneath the ice for the final time. Later, back at base camp with everyone safe and warming up with hot coffee, I tried to make sense of what had happened. I researched every paper I could find on seal cognition and behavior. Ringed seals are intelligent, yes, but nothing in the scientific literature suggested they were capable of the kind of complex reasoning and communication we'd witnessed. Dr. Martinez had his own theory. Maybe, he said, nursing his frost-bitten fingers, we're the ones who aren't intelligent enough to recognize how smart they really are. The thermal vent his team had been studying turned out to be significant. A previously unknown ecosystem thriving beneath the Arctic ice, supporting marine life in ways we're only beginning to understand. The seal that led us to the rescue site was likely part of a population that knew these waters better than any human ever could. Indigenous knowledge keepers like Inuit aren't surprised by stories like this. They've lived alongside Arctic wildlife for thousands of years, developing relationships with animals that Western science is only beginning to acknowledge. The Inuktitut language has dozens of words for different types of sea ice, multiple terms for wind conditions, and yes, names for seals that display unusual intelligence. 6 months later, I published a paper on the incident, carefully documenting the behavior we'd observed while acknowledging the limitations of anecdotal evidence. The scientific community's response was mixed. Some colleagues suggested we'd experienced a series of remarkable coincidences. Others pointed to growing evidence of complex cognition in marine mammals. But I keep thinking about something Inuit told me that night. The Arctic doesn't reveal its secrets to everyone, he said. You have to earn the right to witness its wonders. That seal. Whether through intelligence, instinct, or something we don't yet understand, had chosen to help us. In one of the world's most unforgiving environments, an animal had bridged the gap between species to prevent a tragedy. The Arctic continues to surprise us. As climate change alters this landscape, we're discovering new behaviors, new adaptations, new relationships between species that have coexisted here for millennia. Every expedition, every season of observation, reveals how much we still don't know about life at the planet's extremes. That seal reminded me why I fell in love with Arctic research in the first place. Not just for the science, but for the moments when the natural world reveals its profound intelligence in ways that humble us completely. The next time you see footage of Arctic wildlife, remember that you're looking at animals that have mastered survival in conditions that would kill most humans within hours. They've evolved strategies we're only beginning to understand. And sometimes, just sometimes, they're generous enough to share that wisdom with us. What other mysteries are waiting beneath the ice? What other intelligent behaviors have we simply failed to recognize? The Arctic keeps its secrets well, but for those patient enough to listen, it occasionally offers glimpses of wonders that remind us how much magic still exists in our world. If stories like this fascinate you, there are countless more waiting to be discovered in the Arctic's vast wilderness. Each one teaches us something new about the remarkable adaptations of life at Earth's extremes, and about the intelligence that surrounds us, if we're wise enough to pay attention.